a minor success upon its release and lambasted by critics for its overt social commentary, They Live has now entered pop culture and become a cult classic in its truest form of the word. Directed by the legendary John Carpenter and starring rowdy Roddy Piper, the movie's themes still resonate today. This is the Cult Faction Podcast, episode 62, Spotlight on They Live.
Superman.
Hello and welcome to episode 62 of the Cult Faction Podcast, Spotlight on They Live. I'll be your host this evening, Brett Summers, and joining me tonight is...
Damien Hicks.
Yep, and that silence indicates that we are a man down tonight. Get well soon, Mr. Hawkins. Your seat awaits you at this table. We raise our cans of Coke and Amstels to you.
Here, here.
Here, here. And now we move on. So, Damien, what's been
And
happening?
that's the end of that. We're just moving on.
We've done our sentimental bit. He'll be back soon. Go, Damien. What have you been doing?
What have I been doing?
How was Peppa Pig? I hear you met a celebrity.
I did meet a celebrity. I met Peppa Pig in all of her glory with George. And such fun it was. The theme tune has only just left my head, and now, Mr. Summers, you've put it straight back in there.
I don't know the theme tune, so it's okay.
Do 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 all day long. That's
I'm Peppa. Ah, you damn it.
yeah. See,
All I remember is that Peppa Pig's dad is the... Oh, good boy.
yeah,
I forgot his name.
yeah. I couldn't say his name.
But great actor. And the mum is the one who's married to the other dude at the Mighty Boosh, I think.
Wouldn't know.
Won loads of awards. Blonde hair comedian lady. You do know her.
I'm not doubting that, but I mean, I don't know who
I
does.
can't remember. Yeah, I can't remember her name now. But
It's of no concern of mine, to be honest.
It just shocked me that those sorts of people were doing that. But then, you know, money's money.
Exactly. Sorry, my microphone's just decided to start moving.
No.
There we go.
Did Peppa Pig mess about with it?
That's been my week. In fact, I've watched
Just hanging out on Peppa Pig. You
one bit of television.
hanging with your celebrity friends.
Yeah, it's been the build-up to Emily's 3rd birthday, which was bouncy castles, barbecues,
Here, here.
friends, family, and beer.
And pigs.
Pigs on the Monday, yeah.
And on the barbecue.
On the barbecue, yeah.
So that was cool then.
That's it. Yeah. I've just realised how incredibly warm it is in this room.
It is getting hotter.
Yeah. I was hoping it would have cooled down by now.
We're going to get... If this is 10 minutes tonight, it's because we're rushing through it, so we're
Yeah.
not ending up naked doing this. Well, some of you might like that. Phone in.
Let us know.
Yeah. But, okay then. So
What
for
about yourself?
me,
Any exciting news?
It's back to school still.
Back to school still?
It's another week. Exams have been passing by. We're getting near the end of the GCSEs now. I think by the end of next week, it should all kind of slowly return to normal. Stress levels will come down. Not mine, everyone else's. And no, it will be weird. Year 11 leaving. You know, it's 5 years been working with them, and off they go. You know,
Off to
born
pastures,
free. You let them off into the wild to see what happens. Some will survive and become kings of the jungle. Others will be eaten alive. But we'll see what happens. Place your bets. No, it's just been all that really. And and just getting on with it. Watched a few things, chilling out. Went to a 3rd birthday party. Didn't meet Peppa Pig. Yeah, it was all right.
I should have sent you an invite.
You should put a Cult Faction sticker on her chest. That's what you should have done. Because she would have seen it in her outfit.
Actually, to be fair, whilst Emily was queuing for her photo to be taken, I went off onto the big boys rides at
Ooh.
the other end of the park.
And how long was the photo queue?
Long. Very, very long. So I managed to get 3 goes on tornado twister or something.
Ooh.
Because obviously it's great. You go when it's outside of season, everyone's just there for Peppa Pig World because it's all little kids.
Yeah.
So you could go, there's literally the queuing time for all the bigger stuff, 0 minutes. Brilliant.
Just by any interest, if Polton's Part are listening and wish to sponsor us, we're easy to get hold of. So give us a Peppa Pig pass. And if Peppa Pig is available for interview, we'd love to do it. But yeah, that's it really. But watching wise, what have I watched this week? The Boys has gone from strength to strength in the new season. I would say, again, there have been some complaints I've seen this week on Facebook saying that they would never let their children watch it. My point would be, it's season 3 now. Have you not realised?
Yeah.
It's The Boys.
And at which
It's
point
not
does
for
it say
children.
it's...
Of all the stuff that's happened up to this point, I mean, there's some sick stuff in season 3, don't get me wrong. But of all the things that have happened to this point, you thought it might be all right for your children to watch, then maybe you want to be questioning yourself rather than the programme. What about you, Dan? What have you been watching?
The only thing I've watched, well, I've watched 2 things this week. That Star Wars nonsense, which I forget now. What's it called?
Obi-Wan Kenobi?
Obi-Wan. And I finished watching the Midwich Cookies.
Ooh. Okay, go Obi-Wan first. 'Cause
Okay.
I've watched that as well.
Again, it's still boring. And the just so annoying. She manages to creep into whatever it was, the triangle building thing that's semi underwater. Yeah. And she sat with a bloody like something the size of a lighter, talking into it, saying, "Where are you? You're here.
Yeah.
I'm there. Yep, yeah.
He's
I can see where
behind
he's
you."
blah, 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 blah. All that nonsense. There's a bloke sat right next to her, like he wouldn't notice. She's just randomly either talking to herself or talking into her
Maybe
something the
they've all
size of a
got
lighter.
one. Maybe they've all got one. And it's just like, no, maybe it's like being on a phone.
No, I refuse to accept that. She can just waltz straight in. Virtually, no, admittedly, she did get asked for ID and then did the old switcheroo. Who do you think you're asking?
Yeah.
Nonsense that we used to see in every 70s and 80s heist movie. So no, it's not floating my boat.
I'm liking it, but my biggest problem is like the girl that plays Princess Leia, sorry, Americans, is amazing and is one of the best things in it. But the longer she's in it, the more it's kind of ruining the longer term story of Star Wars that we came to know, would you say? Because it's really hard to be, the last time I felt this was in the presence of my master, Obi-Wan Kenobi, or when Vader and Obi-Wan meet and you go, last time we met, I was the apprentice, now I'm the master. And it's like, well, you've already met
I said
now.
this last week, he's still finding his feet as Darth Vader,
Yeah.
so that's why he can say...
No, but I'm just saying, but the longer she's in it and that whole bit of like, help me, Obi-Wan, you're my only hope, wouldn't she just call him Ben because she knew him? It helps explain why she named her son after him later on in the newer trilogies. Ben Solo, it could help explain that. But she didn't kind of really know who he was at the other one, did she? Or is it, what I'm thinking, is they're going to do the Marvel Comics 101 where they'll do this whole thing and then she's either going to get banged on the head and he's going to Jedi mind wipe her at the end and she doesn't remember. So then it's all good again.
What point in A New Hope does she sends him the message? So why?
Yeah,
so
but she goes,
know.
but it says, you helped my father in the Clone Wars. She doesn't say like, hey, remember me? You saved me from like that scary lady and Darth Vader and some robots. It says, you helped my father in the Clone Wars and I send you this message now as a cry out for help. It doesn't... And she knew him as Ben as well.
But she easily find out at some point in the next couple of episodes that his real name is Obi-Wan.
She didn't give a toss when he got killed and she knew him better than Luke.
No, she didn't. She hadn't seen him for 12 years.
10 years.
10 years, whatever.
But was happy to send him a message.
But would you be... If you met someone for a couple of months when you were 10 years old, I think when you reach 20 years old, you're not going to get that cut up about him popping his clogs.
I might if they saved my life and stopped me from being tortured and saved me from the Imperial Empire.
You go through so many... No, I'm not having it.
I didn't meet him once at Butlins
I'm not
on
having
holiday
this toxic
and then never
chowderhead nonsense. So many things happen from the age of 10 to 20. So.
I agree with that, but it's not like they met for a week on holiday at Butlins, wrote to each other and then stopped writing. It's like, he saved her life. You know, that's a traumatic childhood experience that he saves her from. Because we
Yeah,
know
but-
that's the other thing. We know she's going to get saved. So all
Yeah, I
this
know, that's
build up.
Probably
thing
why it's
of
a bit
like,
boring,
yeah.
to be fair, because we're not seeing anything really exciting about the wider world, if you see what I
Yeah,
mean.
because again, they're just like we said the other day, they're retelling, rehashing. Fill in the blanks by all means, but don't ruin the big strokes with the little strokes.
I'm not not so sure they are, to be fair.
Well, we'll see. Again, we got 2 more left now.
I don't know.
6, I think. Yeah, so we'll
Was that
see
all?
how it goes. Yeah. Okay, what about the Midwich Cookies? Don't worry about spoiling it because I've still only watched the first one, and if I really wanted to see it, I probably would have done.
Probably would have done by now. Yeah. So, well, I mean, can you really spoil a story was originally written in 1953 or whatever it was? Hang on, I'm gonna
Are they all ghosts?
It's boring. Again, seems to be my
so
theme
it
for the
stays
night.
boring, so it didn't pick up at all.
No.
or-
I mean, it really doesn't pick up pace until the last 2 episodes, by which point you've pretty much figured out everything. It's signposted.
Yeah.
There's supposed to be a twist about one of the guys that's working for the government, but you kind of see that happening from episode 2 onwards. Well, pretty much whenever he first appears in it, yeah, he's a wrong un, clearly. And I think the reason, so it keeps getting billed as, so you see the adverts for it and it's like, oh, it's spooky, etc., etc. But it just isn't, because everything happens in bright, full sunshine. There's nothing sinister, with the exception of the kids, which are sinister. The rest of the atmosphere doesn't fit right. The way they're acting it doesn't fit right. Nothing really fits. Like I said last week, Keely Hawes could have been anyone. Anyone could have played
Yeah, they've wasted
Her-
it, sort of, yeah.
her character. The same for Max Beasley. And then, if, as I said, spoilers. So Max Beasley, in the last episode, goes off to build a couple of bombs. Now, I'm not entirely sure how to build a bomb is in the detective's handbook.
YouTube?
Quite possibly, but he didn't have time to do that because there was a blackout. So,
Yeah.
he literally just drives
we
off
know
somewhere and starts
from-
building a pipe bomb.
Is the rest of the episodes like over like the 3 or 4 years then? Or whatever
No.
it was?
Well, sort of. It jumps a little bit.
But because at the start it
I
goes
think it
back
said
like
5
years
years.
or something
Yeah.
like that, or do they just forget that?
No, they don't just forget that,
Because it seems like they forgot a lot of things.
but they
Just in the first episode,
Yeah.
with the cars and that, like you were saying before.
yeah, that the continuity was shite, and they've switched a few bits around from the book, which again, there's nothing wrong with that. You got to if it's
Yeah, run a fresh. It's a
50
fresh
odd,
take on a
60
story as
years
well.
later.
Also, let's say
70.
it's a story people know, so you want to try and put a little bit of a spin on
Yeah.
it without shitting on it.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it's just the performances just aren't very convincing, and it just kind of falls flat.
Yeah,
Which is a shame, 'cause the story's great.
Do we think is that a script or is that yeah? Because the people in it are decent actors. 'Cause
Exactly.
everyone's an actor now, aren't they?
Yeah.
Still got to remember that. Yeah, so yeah, because it did seem very.
Dumbed down to some extent.
No, but even the dialogue, even in the first one, was like, I'm trying to think of the words. Like, I don't know, it's just very much like, here's 10 pages, you got to get this in 2 minutes.
Yeah.
You know, kind of, right, so I'm a doctor. Oh, my daughter, she's very that, and I need to do this, and I also need to go over there, and I'm on a date. You know, and it's just that sort of like, my anger shook the mic bended here. And, you know, rather than just sort of,
Yeah.
like everyone had like some exposition to get off their chests every time you met someone. It wasn't like, oh, here are you, yeah, good day. Well, actually, I have been doing this for the last 12 years. This may be significant later in the plot. That's what it found. Exposition heavy. That's
Yeah,
the phrase
very
I
much
was looking for. Yeah.
And the daughter, so Keely Hawes' daughter, and it's just incredibly annoying. You don't actually care whether she lives or dies or not.
Well, I felt like that at the end of the first episode anyway, of
Yeah.
all of them.
Exactly. So I wouldn't recommend it.
No, not at all. So
No.
it's not worth finishing.
No, I don't think it is. Just
Do they?
We did it, so we had to finish it.
Do they finish it, or is it?
Yeah.
There
It
might be,
finishes.
or is it there? There could be a season 2.
Don't think so. I was so bored by the end of the episode, but I don't think.
There's not like one kid left sat by a
No.
tree at the end or anything.
No, nothing like
Where's my mummy?
that. Yeah. Well, no, one kid does survive, but he's turned against them anyway.
Oh, okay.
So
There's a
he doesn't
good-
want to be
there's a
part of the
good
hive
kid.
anymore. So yeah, it was just a bit meh, really. It wasn't as good as we were all hoping it to be.
Well, it does happen, but hopefully that won't put them off remaking Chucky. Make it happen. It's not been touched for 30 odd years, probably.
Yeah, about
longer.
that.
Maybe 40 now. I don't know. Scary. But, okay, from one boring child that ruined the show to one exciting, awesome child that made the show, you need to check out Miss Marvel, Damien.
No, I don't.
Yes, you do.
I really don't.
It's amazing. It's really cool. Oh, episode 1, anyway.
It's been cancelled. So so
Miss Marvel? No, it hasn't.
I thought that was the one that got cancelled before it even finished.
No, this is the new Disney Plus one with the MCU. She's in the next film because the next film is The Marvels, and it's
Yeah.
we have Captain Marvel.
This is the first Asian
Yeah,
with the bracelet.
yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure we did a news piece that was cancelled a couple of weeks back.
No, because it's only a 6-episode thing anyway.
Yeah, but they're not making any more.
No, they never were though. I mean, everyone's like, "Oh, it's cancelled," but they never were. She's in the films now. She'll be in
Okay.
whatever.
Well, even more
yeah.
reason, because then if I watch that, then they're gonna go, "Oh, now you've watched that. You've got to watch the films." Not happening. So
It's got a lot of backlash on the internet. Not for the series. It's just like people slagging it off that it's a Muslim superhero and things like that.
what's wrong with that?
Oh yeah, no, but you know
Yeah.
those types of people have come out the woodwork and have decided to attack a young girl on social media who's got the acting role of her life, and just with some horrendous comments and things like that. It shows the ugly side of. Again, no, I wouldn't even say it's the ugly side of fandom. It's just racist pricks.
Say it like it is.
Yeah, you know, it's just like. But no, it's a great series, and I think what makes it is the fact that because Kamala Khan, from the comic to the screen, they've done really well, and she's like a superhero fangirl. You know, she is the chowderhead. She is the, you know, she's got a YouTube channel where she does like her updates on superhero news and all that sort of thing, and I think because like the girl they've got doing it, I forgot her name now. Where's it gone? Anyway, yeah, Iman Villani, if I've said that right, or Villani, I might have said it wrong, my apologies. But, like, I think because she is that young girl who's got that role and she's sort of wide-eyed, you know, wow, I'm in this now. And that comes across in the character as well, and she really does bring it to life. And, like, their best friend, and, like, they go to Avengers Con, and that's quite nice because there's some cool bits, but also I think there's a little bit of like self-deprecating humor if you read some of the things in the backgrounds and all that. You know, they know who they are. But no, it's, you know, they got this girl. I think she's 15 or something in the show. I don't know what she might be a little bit older in real life, probably is. But you know, she's carrying this on her shoulders. It's her first big-time action role, and she's knocked it out of the park so far. But again, first of 6 or whatever it is, and then she's going into the movie, so they've got some confidence with her, and yeah, it's just cool. It just it leads the audience into another bit of the MCU. A lot of people saying that, you know, Marvel's gone woke and all that. It's like she's been a superhero for years. It's the same people that said we already had a Hulk. Do we need a She-Hulk? Marvel's gone woke, and it's like She-Hulk's been around for like 50 years. It's not like just because it's the first film. You know, Miss Marvel is a newer character, probably 8 or 9 years around, but no, it's good. But the thing as well is, well, I'm no expert, but you get the whole Muslim part of it as well, and her religion, and the mum saying, "Oh, you can't do that," and the kind of talking. There's a bit where she has to try a dress on because someone's getting married, and they're talking about this other woman's daughter, and you know, she's going to marry this doctor, and they've sort of that, and it's almost like your life's planned for you if you're a female, maybe, and they go into all that as well, and I think it's done in a good way. Other people may disagree, but for someone looking in on it as an outsider of that community, it kind of, I think it portrays it in a good way and helps you understand it a bit. And I don't know, if I was a young Muslim person, I'd be quite happy to have a superhero.
Yeah.
It's like, us white folk have kind of had the corner of the market for quite a while now. And even the greatest one of them all, Captain America, is still blonde-haired and blue-eyed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, good show. 9 out of 10, episode 1.
Cool. That's high praise. I'm still not going to watch it, but it's high praise.
Oh, I thought I had you then. And also you can watch it with the littler ones. And it's still cool and funny. No, but I'm just saying, it's not some of these.
No, I get what you're
can't
saying,
watch,
but she's 3 years old. She can't even sit through an episode of Bing, let alone an episode of a Marvel program.
You never know. It's bright and colourful. But yeah, so even don't be afraid of watching, don't watch The Boys with your kids, but you can watch this one with your kids. Okay. I also ventured across to the Netflix.
Ooh.
And I've watched First Kill episode 1.
Nope, that's a new one on me.
It launched this week. It's basically Skater Boy, but with vampires, and they're both girls. She was a girl, and she was a girl. She was a vampire, she was a slayer. Can I make it any more obvious?
Why does there always have to be vampires?
Yep. Nice. It's created by Victoria Schwab and based on the short story of the same name. I emphasise the short story because I think it is. And but what they've done is good. You've got this teenage vampire Juliette Fairmont, who's played by Sarah Catherine Hook, who's in The Conjuring. The Devil Made Me Do It. She was good in that. And she's like the vampire, and she's in like this vampire family, but she hasn't made her first kill yet.
Right.
You got to make your first kill,
Yep.
then you're like...
Then you're
full... You're patched in.
Yep.
And her mum is Elizabeth Mitchell, who was Juliet in Lost, and then she was in the V remake.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, no, you must do it soon. So she keeps taking these like tablets to stop her, like, I don't know, the urge.
Yeah.
Represses the urge to kill or whatever. And this is what's
like
quite
the
clever.
opposite of Viagra.
Yeah. Diagra or something, I don't know. But and she's got an older sister who's like a really cool and fashionable and all that sort of thing. And you kind of get half the episode, and then there's this new girl in town called Calliope Burns, played by Imani Lewis, who was in...
Well, at least they haven't called her Vanessa Housing or something.
Yeah, no. But the other one, the fact she's Juliet, I was like, oh. But she was in Vampires vs. the Bronx and recently The Equalizer. The new Equalizer, with Queen Latifah, and she's been, and she sort of fancies her, and then they end up meeting up at a party, and something happens, and then it kind of rewinds, and then you see the same day again, but from Calipo's. I'm going to say it wrong. I'm going to call her Calipo now. That's not right.
It's an ice cream, isn't it?
Calliope. Yeah, you see it from her point of view, and it leads back to the same point. But from her point of view, she's from a long line of vampire slayers, and all her family are slayers as well. And, it's just Buffy, Angel for a new generation, and
Grimm.
lesbians.
Yeah, the whole shebang.
You got your Grimm. It could be good. It's, no one in it is rubbish, but it's like, it can develop, but it just needs to throw off, as I put in my review, it just needs to throw off the shackles of your Twilights, your Vampire Diaries, your True Bloods, and all your Slayers that come before, because it's playing like a greatest hits at the moment.
Yeah.
Almost like a sort of vampire TV karaoke sort of. And the thing that it's based on the short story makes me wonder what they'll do with it.
Yeah.
After, but it builds to a point. It's a good point to build on where they're both getting hot and steamy. They meet at the party, it all gets hot and steamy, and then you hear like an and I was like, has she been bitten? Has the other one tried to slay the other one? And I guess we'll go from there. That'll be where the next episode picks up. But if you're a 16-year-old teenager, it might be cool.
Yeah, it might be your thing.
It might be your thing. It's along those lines. If you like your Vampire Diaries, Charmed, the Legacies, Originals, all that sort of stuff. You'll probably like it. If you're a 45-year-old man, you've probably seen it before. And if you wanted to watch that, there's probably other places you can watch that stuff.
Yeah.
So that is, I think I'll go about a 6. Because it's kind of, it's not rubbish, but...
For what it is, it's not rubbish, but it doesn't really
it's nothing that,
appeal.
You're not going to be bowled over by it. The Orville is doing great still. Yeah, I still think you'd like that, although you'll never watch it.
No, I haven't said I've never watched that. It's not. It's not animation. It's not Marvel.
It's
It's
sort of
just not on
Star
my
Trek
list.
done right. That's
Yeah.
what I call it. And then everyone go, no, because they just ripped it off. I was like, yeah, but they've done it right. There's a bit of humour in it. It's not as straight and boring as some of like Star Trek is. This episode especially was very much a kind of it was a cross between Alien and The Fly, and where like they kind of go on the space station. There's like a strange one of the things like sprays at one of the guys, one of the guest cast who's never been in it before. It was I forget his name. He was the dad in Charmed, and he's been in everything over the years. He was the dude. He was the sidekick in Remington Steele and all that. If you saw the bloke, he's one of those American actor guys that's been in everything, and he's an admiral in this. And then he starts doing the Dr. Seth Brundle. You know, he feels a bit funny, and then he ends up sort of mutating and all that. But really good, done well, not played down for a network. You know, you think it might be a bit dumber and less scary, but they go for it. And the Orville just seems to do it right, really. Doesn't overdo anything, does it at the sort of right pace. You know, it was Seth MacFarlane. No, not Seth MacFarlane, that's the comic. No, it's...
I think it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is Seth MacFarlane, yeah. You know, he is a good writer. It just depends on, you know, Ted was well written. You know, Family Guy's well written. Whether you like that humour or not, it's normally got a good enough pace. Whether you find it tasteful or not is a different thing. Whereas this one's a lot more, he's playing it down the mainstream line, but in a really good sci-fi way, and actually exploring different concepts and things rather than kind of, I guess, maybe even preaching now. A lot of shows sort of get a bit preachy now, don't they? In some, like the science fiction, that's just a
If we carry on this course,
the
humanity
environment we'll do.
yeah,
It's just like, here's a cool story with an alien bloke and he's going to kill people. Next week it might be something else different and a social issue or something. But it's good. So it probably does get a bit preachy actually, but in a good way. And the final thing that I finished watching, and it was weird, it was on Disney Plus, but I like it. Pistol.
You finished
the story,
that?
Yeah, I finished it. Really good. I really enjoyed it. I wish there was more, but they have told the story, so they don't need to make any more.
So how far into their career?
Everything.
No, but I mean, how far ahead, or where does it stop? You said they've told you everything. So...
It goes right the way through till like the breakup of the band.
Right. Okay.
And like Sid Vicious being found, overdosing, all that stuff. But it's done in it again. It's based on true events. John Lydon has himself been going on things saying how it's not true and that's not true, and then tried to sue him for using the music, and he didn't like how he was represented and all that. But again, it's from Steve Jones's book. It's based on Steve Jones, a guitarist book, and it's kind of sort of told from his viewpoint. So if you can understand that straight away, that helps. But no one comes out of it smelling the roses. Do you know what I mean? It's not I was the driving force and I wrote everything and everyone else, it's like, I did this, and you see him do things where he is a prick, and later on he's like, yeah, I was wrong about that or whatever. And but it's very much, if you remember Backbeat or sort of one of those, you've really got the moment of what it was probably like captured on film, I think. The essence of it, the atmosphere and that, and it really does come across. And then you've got like the John Lydon guy, I think, is very good. Well, they're all very good actually, but the guy that plays Johnny Rotten or John Lydon is really good. The Sid guy is pretty good, and the guy that plays Steve Jones is, they're all, no one's rubbish. Some stand out more than others, but I think it's designed that way. Cookie, the drummer, is in it the whole time and gets some good lines and that, but he's not like he's not front and centre.
He's not at the
but
forefront.
then he's the drummer.
Yeah.
It's like that
always
bit,
a way for drummers,
that
isn't
bit
it?
in Backbeat when it goes, think about drummers, they're always ignored. And then they just walk past her and carry on. That's what it reminded me of. But it's really good. And it's definitely worth a watch. But if you're going to be a true historian, maybe go and look into things a bit more, because there are a little bit more to things here and there. But as a kind of maybe an introduction to the Sex Pistols, maybe you're a bit younger, and it's a crazy new band you've just discovered, or something like that. I think it's a really good introduction. You get the vibe of everything, what they were like, what they were for, what they were against, and a lot of the more famous stories are represented, maybe not in the right order in some places, but they're there, and you get the sort of the legacy of it all. And yeah, worth a watch. Not normally something we do, but I think it is a good little 6-part, or is it 8-part mini-series that's worth a watch. Oh, again, not in front of the kids. Because at one point my mum came in and went, the language in this is terrible, this Sex Pistols thing. I was like, but it's the Sex Pistols.
Yeah.
She was like, oh yeah, fair point. Oh, and they do a really good, I think one of my favourite bits, or just which is just weird to watch, they redo the Reg Grundy TV interview.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And it's just weird watching it with them, because I've seen it so many times with the other one, and yeah. The attention to detail is.
I was going to say, you got to get that right, because that's been replayed so many times.
But you get the bits like off camera as well, which we never see when it like goes to an advert or it cuts to the whatever, and it's it's really it's really good. Well worth a watch. Bit of musical cult history. But that's about all I can remember watching at the moment.
So that's what we've watched.
Da, da, da.
News desk.
The news.
News items.
Bong. Follow-up to Ghostbusters Afterlife officially announced, with Reitman set to direct.
That's right. As we reported a few weeks back, there will be a follow-up to Ghostbusters Afterlife, and it will be directed by Jason Reitman. Not much has actually been revealed about the plot itself, but we do know the code name for the movie is Firehouse, so could be a clue there, or it just could be a nice, subtle little nod. Who knows? Anyway, and it's the next chapter in the Spengler family story. Reitman said, the last time we saw Ecto-1, it was driving back into Manhattan, the home of Ghostbusters. That's where our story begins. He also confirmed that the character of Winston Zeddemore and Zeddemore Industries figures strongly in the future of Ghostbusters, with Ernie Hudson returning to the role.
Yes, Ernie Hudson.
Indeed.
You deserve more credit.
Much
I like it though that in the meantime he's now a doctor himself. He's gone off and done. That was because he was always like the other
just
guy
the guy.
on it.
If it pays me, it gives you a paycheck at the end of the week or whatever it says.
Yeah,
I'll believe in anything. So
that's it. So he's often been like, when people say the Ghostbusters, they show a picture of the three of them.
Yeah.
There were four Ghostbusters.
There were four Ghostbusters.
And we know that. We know that, Ernie.
So yeah.
Bong! More Ghostbusters news. A third cartoon adaptation is in the works as well, as a new animated feature film, all in partnership with Netflix. Alongside this, there will also be a new limited comic book series due to land in 2023.
Ghostbusters will be returning in animated form on Netflix, not only in a new series, but also with an animated feature.
Yes.
This feature comes from Sony Pictures Animation, while the new animated series is from Netflix and Ghost Corps Inc., with Reitman and Keenan exec producing.
Yes.
And if all that wasn't enough, there's a new limited comic book series due to land at the end of 2023.
Yes.
Again, not much has been revealed about its content, but they have said it will be in canon and part of the growing Ghostbusters story that began back in 1984. We've got a unique story that we want to tell exclusively in a limited edition series, said Reitman, which rather implies Reitman and Keenan will either be writing it themselves or at the very least overseeing the storyline and the project. And I've not got it written down here, but I think it's from Dark Horse Comics. I'm sure that's what...
That sounds like that's the sort of thing they would do.
Yeah, I'm sure it was Dark Horse.
Oh, that's cool.
So that's cool.
So maybe we get to see the breakdown of the original Ghostbusters.
Yes, exactly.
As hinted at in the film.
I think it's got to be. The way he's pitched that, we've got a unique story that we want to tell.
Because the Ghostbusters video game is classed as canon,
It is classed as canon, yeah.
So, yeah, it could follow on from that then. Oh, that's exciting.
It's all good news.
See, nothing happens for ages and it all comes along at once. But you know what else? Bong! Squid Game Season 2 will be happening.
Yep, Squid Game creator Hwang Dong-hyuk, hopefully I've got that right, I apologise if it's wrong, released the following statement. A whole new round is coming. It took 12 years to bring the first season of Squid Game to life last year, but it took 12 days for Squid Game to become the most popular Netflix series ever. As the writer, director and producer of Squid Game, a huge shout out to fans all over the world. Thank you for watching and loving of the show. And now Ji-hun returns. Thank you, Mr. Summers. The frontman returns. Season 2 is coming. The man in the suit with Mr. Jackie might be back. You'll be introduced to Young Hee's boyfriend, Chul Soo. Join us once more for a whole new round.
Well,
I wish Paul was here. We should have got him to read that one out.
One bit that may be a clue to the season 2 that I saw online is a picture of the Squid Game with Amber Heard in it. So I don't know if she's in it or maybe someone was making a really bad joke.
Maybe.
But
But
anyway.
I don't think this comes as any surprise, really, does it? Because it.
Well, it was the biggest TV show in the world. All the kids at school were talking about it. They were talking about it before I was.
Yeah.
And I was like, was it some Japanese what? And then it was actually it was Korean, and it was really cool. And that statue is still freaky.
I just wonder if it was so popular because, it was locked down. It was one of those things that kind of captured the imagination and gained momentum through, the fact that we were in lockdown and everyone was just talking about because no one else had anything else to do. So
I'd go on that, but I'd also go on like every sort of so often you get that sort of Asian series or bit of cinema that just breaks through and gets everyone just because of how different it is, And I think this is one of those where you got a whole new generation of going, oh, what's this? We don't watch rubbish with subtitles, and then they did or watched it dubbed. Like years ago, we had Monkey Magic. You had like the Ring trilogy many years ago, Battle Royale. What's it called? Old Boy, not the remake.
Not the remake. Never the remake.
Every so often there is that sort of one Parasite recently as well. There is that sort of one thing that sort of breaks through every so often, and it's that maybe that next generation's first taste of Eastern cinema and TV without knocking anyone out of that because they're all good.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah. So, could be that as well because it's, it's just something they haven't seen before. No one was expecting something like that. And even I wasn't watching it. I was like, oh, they're playing that game, Red Light, Blue Light. Oh. I was like, that's not hard. But anyway.
Yeah.
Bong! Ted prequel TV series is close to production, says Seth MacFarlane.
Seth MacFarlane says the upcoming Ted prequel series on Peacock should be starting production soon, though the VFX may take some time. Wahlberg won't be returning to the show, but Mark
MacFarlane.
Thank you. MacFarlane will once again voice the eponymous bear. The Ted series will explore John's formative years with his stuffed animal companion. Set in the early 90s, the younger John will be played by Parenthood's Max Burkholder. I'm just liking the idea that it's set in the 90s.
Yeah, well, again, it's that, and you get to see him grow up and the adventures of probably a nice young boy and a foul-mouthed bear.
Yeah.
And you'll get, what's his face? Was it Rudy? The guy that always tries to kidnap him. So you'd have him as a kid as well.
I can't remember his name. It's been a long time since I've seen Ted, actually.
Giovanni Ribisi, Phoebe's brother, as he's often known in some circles. So, that would be good. I mean, I like both Ted films.
To be fair, I wasn't so keen on the second one, but
it wasn't as good. But it was,
there was nothing wrong with it. It just,
you
didn't say it wasn't as good.
They'd done the thing, But no, this should be quite good. And again, it really is the same people. You can't have Marky Mark if it's back when he's a kid.
No.
So, let's see if they ruin any of their already set out stories from the future. Are you watching Star Wars? But in the Tedverse.
The Tedverse.
But that is. Oh, and just a couple of other bits on the news. In sadder news this week, we said goodbye to Matt Zimmerman, who passed away at the age of 87. He was known for being the voice of Alan Tracy in the original Thunderbirds television series and the films that followed. He was also in The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, UFO, Lex, Liquid News, Never the Twain, and roles in many of the Teabag TV programs, including Turn On to Teabag, Teabag and the Revenge of the Tea-Set, Teabag and the Pearls of Wisdom, and Teabag and the Rise of the Olympus. If you have no clue what I'm talking about, there are links on Cult Faction, but just Google Teabag and have a look yourself. And
Still be careful with that, though.
yeah, don't do it at work. And also this week, Julie Cruz passed away at the age of 65. Known for her work with David Lynch and on stuff like Twin Peaks, where her song "Falling" was, well, the instrumental version of it was the theme tune. It was written by Angelo Badalamenti. Did I say it right?
Sounds right to me.
She also did in the Psych tribute episode where they did a Jules Spires, which was like their version of Twin Peaks. She did their theme tune as well in that style, and she was also a touring member of the B-52s at one point. And just loads of really weird, cool songs. Yeah, and another sort of cult hero of cult passed away. So sad news there that we lost both of those this week. Drop zone.
Drop zone.
Okay, welcome to the Drop Zone, where we're looking at the latest teasers and trailers to hit the Cult Faction office desk. Desks. Okay, first up we have the new DC movie Black Adam.
Shall I do the spill? I'll do the spill.
Do the spill.
DC has released the official trailer for Black Adam. The up-and-coming movie sees Dwayne Johnson take on the titular role, which is released in cinemas in October. Nearly 5,000 years after he was bestowed with the mighty powers of the ancient gods and imprisoned just as quickly, Black Adam, Dwayne Johnson, is freed from his earthly tomb, ready to unleash his unique form of justice on the modern world. Christ almighty.
Now, if only DC had started with that.
You're going to have to fill me in a little bit. So, is
Well,
that
I'm just
not
saying,
the...
yeah, no, just saying, like, if they started with that, you might have actually got people a lot more interested in what was going on compared to the lame-ass Man of Steel.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, yeah.
You know, like, it's just something a bit more appealing, I think. It's got a lot more in it. But this is actually the prequel to the Shazam movie.
Okay.
Because in the Shazam movie, the powers that Black Adam has is the same as Shazam. Only the gimmick with Shazam was that it was given to a boy, and then when he gets the powers, he looks like a man.
Okay, with you.
When he says Shazam, when he turns into Captain, no, because tradition in the comics he was called Captain Marvel, but he's not allowed to be anymore.
Okay.
So now he's called Shazam. So if I do slip up, that's why. But yeah. So basically, he got the powers first. Black Adam got the powers first and turned bad, and then they give it to Billy Batson, who becomes Shazam, and then like they kind of fight, and that's his arch enemy. But in this case, it looks like they're going more the anti-hero route, where he's kind of bad, but he might have to just help save everyone.
Yeah, I was getting a Batman vibe
kind of thing of it. So. Yeah, but, you know, it's The Rock and he'll carry it. He can make most things work, you know.
Yeah, this is true.
But the other characters in it actually look really good and not miserable. And it's nice to watch it in colour and not some mysterious chromy grey.
To be fair, what I did like was it doesn't look like it's all set in massive cityscapes. There's a lot of deserts there and what looks like...
Well, the Shazam thing comes from the powers. It's from the... ancient things, so it's like the pyramids and all that. It's like
it's like 5,000 years ago he was given the power.
Because it's the wisdom of Solomon, the strength of Hercules, like the speed of Achilles. That's all they all stand for. That's where the Shazam comes from.
Right. Okay.
Zeus, Atlas. I can't remember. Mercury's. I can't remember. I probably got some wrong.
So they've amalgamated lots of different.
So those letters.
Sounds like you've got Greek mythology in there.
I may have got
Roman
that wrong.
and Egyptian.
Wrong.
Okay.
But I don't know what that was. But yeah, sorry. So yeah. So no, but it looks like they got it right. It looks appealing. It looks like people might actually be interested in it. And I think they're on to a winner there. They've actually done it right for once and made a film that people might actually enjoy rather than triumph and put up with and go, oh, what a great deep story that was. What an existential examination of character that was. No, we just want to see a fun story with superheroes flying around saving stuff and smashing things up and whatever else. I think they've got that. Brosnan's a nice ad. It was Brosnan, wasn't it?
It was,
yeah. Because him and Dalton keep appearing in different films lately. What I watch and you know, he's always good to add. Hawkman looks pretty cool. He's not been in a film as far as I remember. I think he was in Legends for a
You're
while.
looking at me quizzically as if I
No,
would
but
know.
you watched it. He was in Legends, wasn't he? They had Hawkman and
They
Hawkgirl
did,
right in
yeah,
season one, but
Yeah.
this one's one with a. He might actually fly in this one.
And it was beyond the budget
Yeah,
of Legends.
especially season one. That
Yeah.
was awful. But no, it looks good. It's going to make money. It's got The Rock in it, and
Yeah. It's got to be bankable, isn't it?
mums are going to be taking their kids to see it many
Yeah.
times. It's like going to be like Aquaman all over again. But yeah, I've got a feeling this might be the soft reboot of the DC universe.
Oh.
In a kind of, like
That's a bold statement to make, even as someone who doesn't watch this nonsense, fully understands the mire that the DC universe is currently in.
I mean,
Well, mainly because of this podcast, I guess. But
yeah, I mean, we've picked it up, but and it's our fault. No, but also, I mean, they need something because like they put all their money in that Flash movie. That's due to go, and Ezra Miller has not helped them at all, has he? And I think if they could do it,
if they'd have just stuck with Grant, we'd all been all right.
I think if they could get him out of it now, they would. But I think they've done too
far
much
down the
in
road,
the reshot thing. Yeah, but so I think this might be the one they sort of put all their eggs in this basket and then maybe go from there because they're introducing a lot of different characters quite quickly. Whereas we had to go for a whole Superman movie, then a Superman and Batman movie with a cameo from Wonder Woman, then Wonder Woman, and then a few other people turned up as well, sort of randomly in that.
Yeah.
And it's sort of, whereas this one is like, oh, look, here's a whole bunch of people that we might be able to make a movie out of. So, go and see it, talk about the ones you like, because they'll probably get their own movie, and not be reliant on The Flash to save the world. For once, but yeah, pretty cool. Okay, next up we have Vesper.
Set after the collapse of the Earth's ecosystem, this immersive and powerful sci-fi thriller follows Vesper, a headstrong 13-year-old girl surviving in the remnants of a strange and dangerous world with her ailing father, Darius. When Vesper finds the mysterious Camellia alone and disorientated after a crash, she agrees to help find her missing companion in exchange for safe passage. Vesper soon discovers her brutal neighbour Jonas is searching for Camellia, I should say.
Camilla, we've done that film.
Yeah, who harbours a life-changing secret. Forced into dangerous adventure, Vesper must rely on her wits and biohacking abilities to unlock the key to an alternative future. Ooh.
Look at that.
Yep.
That's some hardcore serious science fiction there. I think it's going to be very sort of deep in story and all that, rather than just flashbang wallop explosion. Yeah.
Production looks really good.
And
really
got,
good.
The English dude
Matey
in
boy.
it who's really cool, and I always forget his name.
Yep.
World's End, Deadpool 2. I can't remember now, but he's really cool. And that just looks like something that's one of those ones you're going to have to pay attention to, I think, as well. This isn't going to be one of those ones you put on and it's just on in the background while you're doing some work.
Yeah, I'd say the same. To be fair, I haven't watched this trailer beforehand, and reading the spit notes, so I read this out, but there's a load of other stuff with it.
Yeah.
And reading that, I was thinking, it's going to be another one of those ropey, dodgy-looking special effects made on a shoestring budget, but actually looks the complete opposite with a very intriguing story. So that's going to be one to watch. It's due out later this year. Doesn't actually have a date yet.
We shall see. We'll keep tabs on that and we'll let you know. Next up, this could be a film that changes genres forever. We talked earlier about being careful what you're letting your kids watch. This may be one that leads you down the wrong path. Damien, tell me about Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey.
After being abandoned by a college-bound Christopher Robin, Pooh and Piglet have gone feral. Left for dead and starving, they're no longer tame, and no one is safe. Okay. Not a lot to go on with that.
Not much to go on, but it does look like Mr. the Pooh might not be as happy as he used to be.
I think you know what you're getting. You're getting a slasher film with pretty much people dressed in a mask of Piglet and Pooh. But with the right blend of comedy and the right blend of horror, it's got to be good, isn't it?
I think. I mean, I've watched the Banana Splits go on a serial killing rampage
Yeah,
in the last few
exactly.
years. So watching Winnie the Pooh do it doesn't.
I think what I'd like to see is a lot of references to Winnie the Pooh seeking out honey and stuff, like all the little, I mean,
Yeah.
to be fair, I don't know that much about Winnie the Pooh. It's something I never read as a kid, but it's been around for long enough to seep into people's consciousness. So if they've got a few references that kind of nod to the original stories, even in a dark, macabre way, then
Oh, definitely.
I'm in.
I reckon you're going to have like maybe Eeyore gets his tail ripped off,
Yeah.
or like, I don't want to know what Tigger's on.
It'd be nice to know if they
coked up Tigger.
They start it off and they've killed Tigger, Roo, and the rest of them, and it's only Eeyore left just in a field, just going, ooh.
I just want to see Tigger like coked up off his nut running around, and then they just bump him off. But no, it does. It's a different take, isn't it?
Indeed, it is.
And our next trailer is kind of a different take on an old theme as well. So let's have a look. Damien, what is The Bloody Man?
So, Elm Street co-stars Lisa Wilcox and Tuesday Night reunite for Bloody Man, penned by Daniel and Cassie Benedict, and produced by Red Serial Films. The film tells the story of a young boy who, after the death of his mother, becomes obsessed with the comic book she gave him that ultimately summons the ancient monster found in its pages.
I'm loving the look of that. The kids look spot on. It looks classic 80s tastic
even
horror.
from just the opening titles of the production company, it's spot
Even
on.
just the little keyboardy bit in the background, the little synth and the...
You obviously saw the school bus.
Yeah,
straight away.
Yeah, it's like a tick box list. It's everything Stranger Things could be.
Exactly.
But done in the right way. Yeah, no, that just looks like let's not lie. I don't think it's going to challenge your mental capacities in any way, but I think it's just good fun. I don't know if you can say this anymore. Balls out horror.
Yeah, we can say it. We're 45. We're allowed to say that sort of stuff.
Are we anymore? Because am I not alienating people who may want or need balls?
If they want some, they can get some.
It's good straight out rock and roll horror. Sorry, balls people or ballless people or anyone else I've just offended even more. But yeah.
Either way.
Guts out
It looks
horror.
a mutt's nuts.
Yes. Yeah, so go and check that out. The Bloody Man. And when's that out, Damien? Or is it again? I'll be waiting on a
digital
date.
July the 12th.
Excellent.
So I guess that means wherever you get your streaming movies.
Yeah. So it'll be out, probably be a Sky exclusive. And then, although it'll be on all the others.
Oh, yeah, be on Now TV as
yeah, I'm looking forward to that one. That might be my favourite out of all of them, actually. Sorry,
it's got. It was when I first. Again, it was the first time I've seen this trailer, and it instantly reminded me of the 94. What was it called? The thing we watched last summer.
Oh, Fear Street.
Fear Street. So it was 94. Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Definitely going for that sort of vibe. So happy days.
Do it. Do it.
Spotlight.
Directed by John Carpenter and starring Rowdy Roddy Piper, They Live is a blend of horror and sci-fi that has a keen eye on the social and political views around at the time of its release. Those themes still resonate today. It was a minor success upon its release in 1987 and was lambasted by critics for its overt social commentary. They Live has now entered pop culture and become a cult classic in the truest form of the word. Rowdy Roddy Piper is Nada, a down-on-his-luck construction worker who discovers a pair of special sunglasses that allow him to see the world as it really is, with billboards containing subliminal messages such as consume and obey, along with real aliens walking among us disguised as normal human beings. They live, we sleep.
Oh, where do we begin? They Live.
It's a legendary film. Everyone should have seen it at least once. It's influenced so much. It's been ripped off so much. I mean, there is the I'll find the name of him somewhere in a minute. I wrote it on my notes. But there's that graffiti artist who does all the obey
That's right,
stuff
yeah,
and that.
yeah, yeah.
And he's like, I was influenced by the film. No, you stole it straight
Yeah,
from the
it's-
film.
it's not an influence.
It's not an influence. You took it straight from the film. The only thing you may have been clever enough to do was copyright it. Because John Carpenter probably didn't care.
Yeah.
And probably still doesn't. But yeah, I remember ages ago there was some sort of call to remake it or something, but it hasn't ever happened. Thank
Wow,
God.
you say that. Now, worryingly, I
Uh-oh.
did an IMDb search of They Live, and two things came up. They Live, 1988, and They Live, post-production.
Yeah, but I think that's been in post production for about
Yeah, but this
5,
is what
6
I'm
years.
hoping, because there was no other detail there other than that. So that is a worry. But hopefully, as you say, it's never going to happen. It
Well,
shouldn't happen.
No, the 1988 masterpiece should remain untouched. Yeah, directed by John Carpenter, as we said, and based off of the short story 8 o'clock in the morning by Ray Nelson. That's probably his most famous story, actually, and it was kind of based on it. If you get a chance to read it, but Carpenter takes it in his own crazy John Carpenter direction. Where do you want to start?
Yeah,
Dave?
where do we begin?
Memories.
Well, it's actually very similar to the memories of Reaper Man that we talked about last week, because again, it was around that time when we first got Sky through. I think it was Videotron. No, it wasn't Rediffusion. It was Videotron. I remember that the other day. So again, it was one of those. It was just always on Sky Movies for like the first. Because you got to bear in mind, back then,
Give us a, where are we talking back then? Are
like
we talking 80s?
90.
Not early 90s?
Early 90s. So probably it was about 1990. So because what would happen, it was the film would go theatrical. It would then come over here in theatres.
Mm-hmm.
And then you would get VHS. And VHS could sometimes be up to 6 months, sometimes even longer.
Yeah, I can remember waiting
After
years for stuff.
the theatrical release, and then even longer after that to on Sky. So it was probably one of their premieres on Sky in the early, like either late 89, early 1990. And then it was just like, what they back then again, they used to do, it was just repeat every night. It was, it would premiere on the Friday night, and that's it. It's on every night at 9 o'clock. For the next week until the next one comes along. It didn't have the way they do it now. So it was just one of those ones that was always on. So we taped it. My brother and I would just sit and watch it. There was a time that we could genuinely recite the entire film from start to finish, doing the parts. It's ingrained in my head. I didn't really have to rewatch it this week to be talking about it, but I mean, why would you not want to?
Yeah. I didn't actually have the time to, but I don't think I need to. I went through a couple of clips online just to get them fresh in my head again, and it was like, I remember it. I mean, for me, I came in through the back door, so to speak, as a fan of Rowdy Roddy Piper from his wrestling days, and also his excellent performance in Hell Comes to Frogtown. And so I knew about it from that he was making the film, and I went in that way, and then it was, and I don't think I even realised at the time that it was the John Carpenter who'd done The Thing, and what other one had he done at that time? The Fog.
Yeah.
I don't think I joined the dots up at that point in 1988. I was just like, Rowdy Roddy Piper's in a movie, and it might actually be good this time. And having seen him in, what was that other one? Body Slam, where he played a wrestler called Rick Roberts. And he'd also done a TV pilot called Tag Team with Jesse the Body Ventura, from most people know from Predator.
Yeah.
And because he Captain Victor in The Running Man. He was in The Running Man as well. Done a few Arnold films. But they were like ex-Vietnam veterans who became detectives. So
were any of those WWF films, or did the WF film side of it come later?
All after.
That was all, because I know they did their own stuff, didn't they?
All of it was after that. Yeah, this was Yeah, tag team was 91. How Comes to Frogtown was actually be interesting. It was released the same year actually as They Live, but came out before. Body Slam was, I think, in the WWF time as it was then. WWE
that's
now,
why,
WWF.
yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, that does play a role later.
I'm trying to
I see what you're
stay in
saying.
canon, you see.
Yeah, yeah, and that does. There is a reason for that later on as well. We'll get to that. But Piper himself, as I say, was no stranger to the movies, and was also one of the main people responsible for the very first WrestleMania. This may sound like I'm starting to talk about wrestling, but it does link back around.
Carry on.
Because there was, I'm doing this off the top of my head now, but there was around end of 84, beginning of 85, there was something where like WWF was pushing the rock and wrestling thing. And they'd done a load of collaborational stuff with MTV. And there was something where, like, Cyndi Lauper was getting an award for something. Because she later became a wrestling manager for a while as well, if you didn't know that.
Didn't let the wrestlers appear in one of her videos?
Yeah, I mean, if you watch any of her videos, like Captain Lou Albano is her dad in Girls Just Want to Have Fun.
Right, yeah.
Goonies are good enough. They're all, there's like everyone pops up in that. And even later on, I think Captain Lou Albano appears in a couple of her things, even later on, years down the line, you know, after she'd kind of, I think they remained friends. I think he was from that bit of the neighborhood in New York or whatever it was. But yeah, so they'd done something where, and I think Cyndi Lauper, I think Piper's hit her over the head with a record or something, like a gold record or something like that. And that led to one of the first big, like, I don't know what you call it, super wrestling events. And
it's probably worth or important to point out because probably not people might know Rowdy Roddy Piper was a wrestler, but he was a heel, wasn't he? He wasn't.
Yeah, he was a bad guy. He was like the proper bad guy. This was the guy that, in just previous to this, had attacked the Polynesian wrestlers Jimmy Superfly Snuka on his Piper's Pit interview section by smashing him over the head with a coconut. He wasn't necessarily the most politically... I mean, Rowdy Roddy Piper would not exist today.
No.
Or not in the way that we saw him in those days. Because he would, If you Google some of his old promos and interviews, you will, especially when he's a bad guy, you will see how far he was willing to go to push the envelope. Even as a good guy later on when he fought Bad News Brown from Harlem, New York, and he came out to the match and he painted himself half black and hadn't told anyone he was going to do it. So literally right down the middle of him, one side was black, one side was white. It looked like something out of like the old Star Trek TV series.
Yeah.
And again, you wouldn't do that nowadays. But then it turned out that he'd been stitched up because the people, or when he asked about the face paint, they told him something that didn't come off. So it was about a week later, he was still half black, half white. Like, you know, he got pranked on that. Yeah, but yeah. So then he attacked Cyndi Lauper and and I think Hulk Hogan made the save, and that set up what was going to be. It was like live on MTV, and it was the war to settle the score, and that was like the first real one of the Vince McMahon's genius moments of sort of crossing over. So you had WWF live on MTV back when they just played music.
Yeah,
and it was like, you know, and Cyndi Lauper had been attacked. And she was quite happy to play along with it and, you know, kayfabe, as they say. And then that led the Hogan-Piper feud carrying on into what then was WrestleMania in March 85. Yeah. To get to something where they main evented. That was when Mr. T then came in to help Hulk Hogan. So you had Hulk Hogan and Mr. T against Rowdy Roddy Piper and Mr. Wonderful Paul Orville. Liberace was guest timekeeper. Muhammad Ali was a special guest outside the ring, enforcer, referee to make sure there were no shenanigans. And the rest is history, really. But yeah, Piper was there. He set all that up. But then at WrestleMania 3 came his retirement match 3 years after that. And by now, he's become a good guy because, like, the bad guys... He was too much for the bad guys that I think he became a good guy because he was just too cool anyway. You know, like a bit like Steve Austin. He was supposed to be a bad guy, but everyone ended up just liking him anyway. And that was also when he started falling out with Vince McMahon because John Carpenter, I believe, had seen him or went to WrestleMania 3. He saw him, depending on
John
what you
Carpenter's
read.
kind of always been a fan of
Yeah,
wrestling.
he's been a diehard wrestling
Went to
fan since a
WrestleMania
child.
3 with had a private box, and I'd see Roddy Piper.
Yeah, and that was when he offered, but because Piper had already done the Body Slam movie, and I think that was okay because it was kind of
Keeping
now
with
it was wrestling, and in those
Yeah.
days, I think it was almost straight to what we would call straight to video. It wasn't
in the R price
it wasn't a
bargain
big
bucket.
one, and they'd already had some disputes before that with Hulk Hogan, because in about 81, 82, Hulk Hogan was in the WWF at the time as a bad guy, and had been offered Rocky 3, and they said you can do Rocky 3, but we want or even it was Vince McMahon Sr. at that point had said either you can't do it or we want a certain amount of money or something like that. And he said screw you and went to the AWA for a couple of years and made them a lot of money, and then came back as a good guy in sort of end of 83, 84. So there'd been a history of WWE kind of trying to almost do we'll be your agent. We'll take a percentage, that kind of thing. And I think they tried that on Piper, and he was like, well, I did this all myself. It wasn't because he's come and found me. John Carpenter's found me. He wants me to be in his film. And that was where the relationship broke down, and he'd done his retirement angle around then anyway. And I think that was when he just walked away and then kind of earned a living making films and TV. He'd done that. He was in the Highlander pilot. He did Highlander. And the only reason he stands out in that TV series is because he was an immortal, but he wasn't a Highlander. So they didn't have to fight him and chop his head off, but he was still an immortal, but he was a different type of immortal or something. I remember that one. He did The Highwayman. He was in the pilot of that, as well as some of the other films. But he popped up in things over the years as well as his cinema stuff. But They Live was probably his greatest moment. Really.
And he used to openly say that as well.
Yeah.
That it's the thing he's most proud of is They Live.
I mean, his most recent stuff before, because Piper passed away in 2015 now. Is it that long? July the 31st. So we're coming up to, man, that's so long. But one of his more recent things before he died was he played the Maniac in It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
So, and they had more, there was more of that planned in, but obviously they couldn't go back to it. So over the few seasons, he sort of pops out. He has like a running thread in odd episodes over the seasons, but it never really got resolved in the end because sadly he passed away. But yeah, but he did put on all sorts of different things over the years and different. I mean, he was even he did some voices for like DC cartoons like Green Lantern and stuff like that. But yeah, They Live was his.
The pinnacle.
Everyone has that role that they're going to be known for.
Yeah.
Harrison Ford, Han Solo. I know you don't like it, but it's tough. But everyone has that role, and that was his. And and it's gone on to become legendary. Even if you didn't know who he was or didn't know wrestling or whatever, you'll know him from that role. So yeah, and he did go back to wrestling later on after this as well, and became back an even bigger star than when he left because. He had street cred then as well and a value outside of the ring. So I'm sure his money went up even more. But, I mean, I would say, I think what makes it for me is a lot of science fiction is based on like an idea or a concept. And once you establish the rules of that idea or concept, the world of that film or franchise expands. And this is such a simple concept that's what makes it genius. You have sunglasses that show what the world's really like.
Yeah.
There's no deep, it's parallel Earths, multiverses, or whatever. It's some sunglasses. We've been invaded by aliens. If you wear these sunglasses, you can see who they are and what's really going on. Easily done. I mean, obviously, a huge message, like when you really see what the advertising's saying and all that, it's a clear assault on, I guess, what was called Reaganism and consumerism and that at the time and now. And,
well, even more so now. But yeah, you're right. It's literally holding a mirror up to not just America. I mean, obviously this is Reagan's America. I can't remember if it's actually in the film or not now, but it's Good Morning America and all that stuff. All of that.
Oh, you see him watching all those on the telly. Yeah.
So you getting all of that, and the whole mantra of Reagan's America, and to be fair, over here as well with it, Thatcher's Britain is consume and
Well, it's
kind of
still there now.
it's still there now, but basically the aliens, the ghouls as they're commonly known, are basically yuppies. It's they're at the almost the top of the food chain, basically turning us into cattle, turning the everyday man into cattle. So, in fact, it's probably even more relevant now with all the other conspiracy theories that are out there. I mean, I don't know if those conspiracy theories existed back in 1988, but
yeah, if this film come out now, they'd be like, it's
the Illuminati
opening the
or
eyes,
whatever.
the Illuminati. But
so the film itself, so it opens up. It almost starts and feels like a western. So you've got the train
when I
going
say
across.
that, I get told off.
That's because yours is always space western this, space western that. This is at least still set on Earth. So you got the train goes across. He's obviously done that old thing that a lot of Western films.
Well, the classic. Well, again, that is a big symbol of the migration workers of the 1920s.
Exactly. So it's all about the Depression era,
George and Lenny,
all of that sort of stuff. Yeah, very much Steinbeck.
Of Mice and Men, yeah.
And that's what the opening first 10, 15 minutes feels like. It's very much a Depression era film. He gets off the train. He's obviously just jumped on the cattle wagon, gets off. He's drifted into town. He's down on his luck. He's looking for work. I think there's a scene where he sort of goes to like a job centre or something. There's nothing there. Comes across a construction site and then ends up in a shanty town. What I missed when I said that about the start is the music. Even the music has a kind of cowboy western kind of feel to it. You've got the ominous bass tones, but then you've got it almost sounds like someone hitting a scaffolding pipe with another bit of metal.
Yeah.
I don't know what instrument it's using, but what I mean. It all sounds very much like a western film, and he drifts into this shanty town and befriends Frank, or Frank befriends him, one or the other.
Yeah, and you got the other people, because you got the weird street preacher guy as well.
Oh yeah, I forgot about him. He comes across him first, doesn't he?
Yeah, Raymond St. Jacks, who's loads of blaxploitation movies.
Yeah.
And also one of the other guys is Cy Richardson, who we reviewed last week in Repo Man.
Yeah.
Was he Light? Or was he Miller? I can't remember. They're all beers.
I've already forgotten their names.
Yeah, no, but he was from that. So we were saying that like Repo Man walked so they could run, and you got that connection.
Well, this is why we're doing this
actor.
film. It felt like a natural
follow-on thing, wasn't it? Yeah. So so you meet and that's it, and it sets out this sort of like I say, it's the shanty town, but just the life of what it was like at that time, I guess, for these people. You meeting these different characters and sort of drifters of the road, and also obviously the legendary George Buckflower is drifting around as well, hero of cult. Which basically, I still say he played the same character in every film he was in, pretty much. But
why the hell not if you can do it?
And but that's what I mean. I'd like to think that if you just joined them all up, you've got this character
entire
story. Yeah. And but even he pops up, and you just get this sort of the almost, I guess, the Great Depression that they live in. Then we switch to I can't remember now. It's the church, isn't it? When they're hacking
so
in.
he
My mind's gone blank. Sorry.
So there's basically there's one thing that annoys me about this entire film, and that's that he's playing a harmonica. I hate the harmonica. It annoys me. I don't know why, it just does. But anyway, so he's one night he sat playing the harmonica, and you got George Buckflowers. He's sat watching the TV, and then someone hacks into the signal.
That was it. Yes.
And so they're sat there watching it. He's leaning over their shoulder watching it, and he looks across, and the preacher is basically saying the same words that the hacker is saying on the TV. So he gets a little suspicious, and he starts investigating what's going on in the in the church that's just across the road, and that's when he
That's when he finds the box.
No, it's not when he finds the box. So he gets suspicious about that, but then he makes too much noise. Something gets rumbled, basically, And then that same night or the following night, the shanty town gets destroyed by bailiffs and cops moving in and just destroying everything. So that's when he goes back to the church and finds the box of sunglasses.
Yeah.
Rather stupidly hides them in a dustbin that's going to be collected the next day. But,
Yeah, then he does the walk down the street and then puts them on. The very famous scene, it's all over the place.
The
it's
big
on
reveal.
YouTube, and the big reveal. And interestingly, the first ghoul he meets at the magazine stand, when he's going through the newspaper, is John F. Goff, who is Al Williams in The Fog.
All right, cool.
So it's almost like I don't know if he was just free that day and he owed John Carpenter a pint or something, but like he just comes in because it's just, for what would probably have been at the time one of the more famous people in the film. He's in it for like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
At the start, at the magazine thing, and then we get the carrying on walking down the thing into the shop. No, we got a seer, or is it we got a looker? No, we got a seer, haven't we? And then
something like that, yeah.
And then the cat and mouse games begin with them. And then we get the well. Do you want to say it? The line that will be forever remembered for this film.
I can say it if you want.
You can say it.
I think we all know it's coming.
Go on then.
So he has a he goes into the supermarket, and that's where you get full on we've missed one of the better lines, not one of the better lines, but there's a bit where he's at the supermarket and he's like stood by the till and he's got the glasses on and he looks across and there's one woman stood to his left, one woman stood to his right, and he puts his glasses on. It's like something like, you're fucking ugly. You're all right. But when I put these glasses on, you look like something.
That's when she says we got to see her.
That's when she says got to see her. But anyway, then he goes off and he runs off into a bank, I think it is. It looks like a bank anyway. And that's when you get the famous line, I came here to chew bubblegum and kick ass, and I'm all out of gum.
Yeah, that's it. And then that's when he then shoots them all up and then nicks the TV truck with Meg Foster in it. I forgot her name. What's her name? Holly. And she ends up being his hostage, doesn't she?
Yeah, that's right.
Meg Foster, you will know from
Masters of the Universe.
Yeah, Evil Lynn, Masters of the Universe. He tries to get her to put the whole thing now is him trying to get people to put the glasses on it.
That's right.
But she knocks him.
She kicks him out
the window.
She lives up in the hills, up in one of those houses on stilts kind of thing.
Yeah,
and
he
basically
gets to
chucks
do
him
a
out the
stunt.
window. Yeah, so he gets to do a stunt through a window, roll down a hill.
One thing I just remembered about Piper, and as I can remember you sit in this scene, always refused to take his wedding ring off.
That's right, yeah.
And you see that in this as well, yeah. Then he goes back to get the glasses, and then that's when the cool bit where he tries to get Frank to put them on. Yeah. And then we end up with, wasn't it like 3 weeks of practice or something?
So it's 3 weeks of coordinate. So the fight scene originally scripted 20 seconds. So it's a 20-second fight scene. So then Rowdy Roddy Piper and Frank
played by the legendary Keith David.
They decide that they're going to coordinate a longer fight, which goes on for 5 minutes and 20 seconds. So 5 minutes longer than it was originally scheduled for, scripted for. And it's gone down in history as one of the greatest fight scenes. There's no whistles and bells. There's no wires. No cutscenes. None of that kind of whoosh, slow mo, John Woo type nonsense. No couching tiger, whatever it's. What am I trying to say? Crouching tiger, hidden dragon. None of that wire nonsense.
Yeah.
This is literally two mates slogging it out.
No bullet time.
Yeah, none of that stuff. Two mates slogging it out for 5 minutes. Just so that someone can put a pair of sunglasses on.
And then when he finally does, suddenly he believes in Nada, who at the time I think he thought he was like a murderer and everything, didn't he, and stuff, and didn't trust him. And then he's like, "Okay, you're not mental. You're actually like telling the truth.
Telling the truth. We've got to do something about this."
and then they run off and meet the UFO alien bloke, Gilbert.
I think it's Gil.
It was no,
Yeah.
it was Gilbert because it was Gilbert the alien on Get Fresh, and he was Gilbert. He was played by Peter Jason, who you will probably know from like Escape from LA, 48 Hours. But again, another hard-working character actor who's been in everything from Mike Hammer to Seabiscuit. So, you know, I think he's even done some stuff with Meatloaf and music videos. But yeah, and he's the soccer coach in The Karate Kid as well. There you go. If you want to have a deep dive on him. But Peter Jason, yeah, he's been around for years. So he plays Gilbert. He is the crazy alien sort of group leader. And apparently the aliens are using global warming, the sneaky gits, to make the Earth like their own planet.
Yeah.
So we get our environmental message in as well. And then the contact lenses come into play, don't they?
Yeah. So Frank and Nada end up at this hotel or motel, whatever it is, and that's where Gil follows them to and tells them there's a meeting tonight. We're the resistance, basically.
Yeah.
And there's a meeting tonight. We're going to start planning our assault, or whatever you want to call it. So yeah, that's where the contact lenses. So they give them a pair of contact lenses, so they can just always see what's going on without looking so conspicuous. But that same night, Holly turns up as well.
Yep, that's right.
That's right. Yeah.
So it ends up with the three of them there. Yeah.
So it ends up with the three of them there. But then it gets raided, so pretty much everyone gets killed off. You don't see Gil again. Roddy Piper, and
a lot of people
Frank.
are in it for one scene.
Yeah,
aren't
exactly.
they?
I mean, going back to the people that are in it, you know, so we've mentioned the names, but what Carpenter also did was basically employed a lot of the homeless people. So the people you see there, and they, you know, I'm not entirely sure if any of them have lines. I mean, you know, to be fair, some of the acting from the peripheral characters is a little bit ropey, so they may well have been, you know.
Damn.
But they got, you know, they got employed, they got a paycheck and
he fed
food
them, didn't he? Yeah.
throughout the entire shoot. And as the story goes, that obviously this was shot in LA, so he also had to pay off gang members to kind of leave the set alone whilst they were doing the filming. I don't know how true that is. I think it is a quote from him, but I'm not entirely sure. So yeah, you know, it's serious shit.
Yeah, because it is in, you know, if you see it, that's not like let's find a little derelict bit or build a derelict cityscape. No, that is some dodgy, badass end of LA that like most people probably wouldn't go near.
So yeah, the that meeting is interrupted. It's basically raided. So pretty much everyone is gunned down. Holly makes her escape through one entrance. Frank and Nada escape down an alleyway and eventually work out how to use one of the ghouls' watches that allows them to communicate and teleport, and it opens up a hole in the ground, and they jump down there to make their escape. And they're wandering around there for a few minutes trying to work out where they are when they stumble across George Buckflower again.
Yay.
But this time he's not homeless down and out. He's dressed. Oh no, sorry, I skipped a bit. So they're walking around and they stumble across like a big dining hall. So there's loads of people sat around, all in dinner jackets,
meeting,
and it's a mixture, but it's both aliens and the collaborators. So you got a guy up giving a speech at the front, and he says something like, "Thanks to our way of life and what we're doing, your investments, etc., have grown by 30% or whatever. So basically, you're making money because of what we're doing."
Showing that humans will sell each other out for a few quid.
Exactly. So they come out of there. That's where they meet George Buckflower this time. This time he's dressed in a full-on tuxedo. He's got a glass of champagne in his hand, and he's like, you guys have joined up. You could have dressed up for the part. But anyway, nice. It's great to see you. Blah blah blah. Let me show you around, and he's giving it all the sort of big man stuff, and he takes them through, and he shows them all the workings of the basement level that they're in.
It's basically your Bond bit, isn't it?
Yeah.
Where, it's
normally
like
Bond
would be tied up, and then he reveals the plot. Yeah.
But and that's so he shows them a bit where they can where they launch off planet and go to their own solar system or whatever it is.
I forgot what it's called now. I did have that written down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a bit dodgy because they're supposed to be underground, and then the window shows them, a big skyscape with stars and whatnot. But we'll forgive that. Off they go, and then he takes them to a TV studio. So this is where the signal's coming from, and then that's when they decide to start attacking the studio, gunning anyone down that isn't
because
a ghoul.
They realise if they destroyed the signal, then the world will be able to see the aliens for what they truly are. Which, again, is quite a deep message and maybe quite relevant nowadays. Yeah. Take down the TV signal. And then we get our twist.
So, whilst they're running through the corridors of the studio, gunning people down, rather gunning ghouls down, they're very careful not to shoot any real humans by the looks of it. Holly turns up and they grab her and we're going to the roof. So off they start running up to the roof. Roddy Piper goes ahead of them. Holly shoots Frank in the back of the head. And just as Roddy Piper is about to shoot the satellite signal to kill their signal
and reveal them to the world,
she shoots him, but it works out all right in the end because he's still got enough life left in him to kill her and kill the signal. And that's where we get one of probably the best endings of all time.
The bar.
You get the bar where suddenly everyone can see that there's a ghoul sitting next to them. So the two news reporters are ghouls as well. Yeah. So their things come off, and you hear someone say, "Christ, you look like shit." But then the actual final, very last scene is it just cuts to basically a topless woman riding a guy, and she looks down, and he's also a ghoul. And then it just cuts. That's it. Gone.
Yeah, no, that was it. And it just like a dead end. So you presume that Nada's died in his sacrifice. Oh, he does flip him off at the end as well, doesn't he?
Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot about that.
He gives him the middle finger before it looks like... Well, you presume that he sacrificed himself to save humanity and takes out Meg Foster, which is the only human he kills, I think, through all of it.
I think so.
Or the ghouls or the aliens or whatever. But there was one bit as well, if you look closely, the guards right near the end by the TV station are using the Ghostbuster PKE meters, aren't they? Yeah. Yeah,
you're using those to communicate or something by the looks of it. Yeah, they pop up, those props pop up twice.
And, and it was it. And Carpenter was always happy with this because it came out how he wanted and he got the final cut. And it did open... As I say, it opened at number 1 and then sort of dropped. I think everyone went to see it the first week.
Yeah.
And it was a big thing. Yeah, it was just one of those films that has stood out since then, and people still go back to it. I mean, I think there's been graphic novels since. So why is it still around? Why has it not been forgotten about, Damien? Why are people still? They live. Why is it relevant?
Well, I think there's two things. There's obviously the themes that we've already talked about: the obey, consume, marry, eat, reproduce, all of that stuff.
They live, we sleep, all that stuff. Yeah,
which just taps into that whole kind of thing that almost everyone has a feeling about. Of there's got to be, if your life's shit, there's a reason for it. It's not all down to you.
Yeah,
it's bollocks. But everyone has that kind of taps into that. But it's also there's two very strong performances in this film, which is obviously Roddy Piper and Keith David. They're perfect together because Roddy Piper is the complete opposite to his wrestling persona. So, this guy drifts into town. He's very pensive, very quiet. There's a scene when...
Yeah, because he doesn't talk a lot,
He doesn't have a lot of lines
When he
in
does,
it.
he has some cool lines, but he doesn't...
But it's... There's a scene, I can't remember the exact wording, but basically Frank is kind of saying, what we say all the time, they screw you at the drive-through, all of that kind of... the man is sticking it to us, and et cetera, et cetera. But Roddy Piper's all like, I believe in America, my time will come. He's very subdued. It's just the complete opposite. He's the guy that just goes with the flow and is subtle in all his act. Up until the final act, he's pretty much subtle in everything he's doing. Up until the middle of the film, I should say, when he starts shooting people. But prior to that, it's all very He's just a drifter. He's just milling about, if you like.
You're proper everyman kind of. Yeah.
Exactly. Whereas, and it's Keith David who's almost doing the what you would expect they'd want Roddy Piper to be doing. So he's the guy that's the cynical labourer who pretty much points out actually what the plot is, what the film is about, because he's the one that's saying, this is the start line, get as far as you can, but the guy next to you is going to fuck you over. He's the guy next to you is trying to screw you over, and this guy's trying to screw you over. And that's when Rowdy Roddy Piper says, well, I believe in the American dream, my time will come. So, it's Keith. I want to keep saying Keith Allen, for fuck's sake. Keith David.
definitely not him.
No, it's definitely not him. That speech, that dialogue that he delivers in that part of the film is pretty much telling you what this film is about. But as I say, it's the performances and the fight scene. I don't want to keep going back to the fight scene, but it is just awesome. You can almost see how much fun they're having doing it, as well as how well choreographed it is. I mean, it was always going to be a good, well choreographed fight because it's being choreographed by a guy that wrestles for a living. And let's be honest, wrestling isn't boxing. It's not like
sports entertainment.
No, but what I mean is, boxing is two blokes hitting each other with their fists. Queensberry rules and all that. I don't know what I mean. I don't follow boxing, but there's a phrase people use. Do you know what I mean? The art of boxing,
the gentleman's sport.
Yeah. Whereas wrestling is almost brawling, isn't it? To some extent,
grappling, more rolling around holes.
Well, yeah,
and
but
stuff.
It's
not a striking sport. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is two blokes that, in character, aren't fighters. They're not.
Yeah, who are fighting? Yeah,
they're two blokes that are fighting. They're not fighters. So it's not push with fists.
It's not.
He picks up a 2x4 at one point.
Yeah, it's not like slow motion jump kicks.
No, and it's not all like
Chuck Norris stuff.
Great.
It's like
martial arts or any of that
a proper
stuff.
fight would look like
exactly.
if you saw people having a fight.
Just grabbing each other by the waist and dragging them down to the floor.
Yeah, you're right.
At one point, he I think Roddy Piper's lying on the floor and he goes to kick Frank in the nads, and it's like, you dirty motherfucker. He stops him from doing. He grabs his leg, and then there's the bit he goes to whack him with a 2x4 and it hits the windscreen, and Frank picks up a bottle and goes to smashes it on the side of the car, but he just obliterates the bottle rather than because what you normally see in all the Hollywood films, they crack it and it's got a nice sharp edge. This just smashes and disintegrates, and you even get a little kind of wry smile from Rowdy Piper as it happens.
But I think that is like the greatness of this film is in its non-sensational simplicity.
Yeah, exactly.
The whole thing of it, like I said just now, the concept is an easy one to understand. Even if you didn't get the social commentary and all that, you put glasses on, you can see the real aliens.
Yeah.
There's no
fat.
There's no big thing. You don't need a secret formula, or you don't need that. It's just put the sunglasses on. We got
to go to the library to find this book that only this one professor knows about.
There's no deep scientific mumbo jumbo, and we never know where the sunglasses came from. We don't really know.
No.
I mean, made them. He finds
contact
them.
lenses. These are new. We got our first shipment today. There's no.
Yeah, there's no. We don't go into. It's because the midichlorians did it, or whatever other bollocks it was. It just goes straight through, and it plays it through. It keeps it simple. What do we need to do? They're taking over. There are human collaborators. We need to blow up the transmitter. Once that's done, it's simple key plots that work fantastically. There's no... You get your twist with the betrayal of Holly. But again, but it works in the story. There's not layers upon layers.
No,
you don't need to know...
It's because it's his story. It's not...
Yeah.
It hasn't bothered to kind of expand it out.
It keeps
they could have gone too
far
far with the resistance, like you say. It could have been, a network of people
around the world, and everyone's that, and he's doing that, and we get the story of the resistance. It doesn't, but you don't even get his story really, apart from when we meet him.
Exactly, but it's literally just that week in his life. That's pretty much all it is.
It's not bogged down. It just tells a story, tells it well. And it leaves an impact, and I think that's it, because it could be anyone, it could be something that happens, because it's not aliens is ridiculous. Don't get me wrong, but the actual concepts of the the business side, which I'm guessing it's making the dig at.
Yeah.
You know, the people making us consume. It's just it just works really well. And one other one, Al Leong pops up as a agent in it as well. What do you call it? No, like a revolutionary.
All right.
So he's in it as well. The Mr.
You're right. For about you see him about 3-4 seconds worth.
But again, if it's John Carpenter, he'll pop up
he's
somewhere.
got to be in there somewhere. And
he's got everyone a payday.
Yeah, you definitely see him when I think he's in the background, but you also see he's one of the guys that runs out of the building and legs it down the tunnel, and I think he survives. You don't see him being gunned down, so that's cool.
But it's interesting that sort of when looking into this, Carpenter wanted the aliens to look like rotting corpses rather than high tech.
Yeah,
interesting choice.
I think it was something along the lines of he wanted them to look corrupted because they're corrupting us. So it's like a corrupted version of what we would look like if something along those lines.
Oh, that's cool. I like that. Like a future reflection of what we might end up like. That's good. And it's it's just the symbols in it and the message. Just I keep saying it. You know, it's just as relevant now as it ever was, and I think that's why people need to look back at that. Because even I'm just thinking now, what was it, 88? Would that have been? You know, it's touching on global warming. No one was talking about global warming back then, were they?
Yeah, you had a lot of MTV adverts about global warming. I definitely remember that.
In 88?
Yeah. But it wasn't the thing. I mean, it's only been we've always known about it in our lifetime, to be fair. But it's only been a big thing. The climate crisis, as it's now called, it's only been around for 5 years. It's always been around. But what I mean, it's only been newsworthy.
It was, what's his face, wasn't it?
Sting?
No, what's his face? Al Gore. No, Vice President. Yeah, it was
Al Gore.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just an interesting one for someone like Carpenter to do. 'Cause if you look at his work up to then, you had The Fog, Halloween,
The Thing.
But yeah, I suppose with Keith David in The Thing as well. I suppose you could say then maybe with The Thing you had that kind of paranoia.
Yeah, definitely. Thing plays on paranoia. I mean.
And The Fog again. The Fog was more. It was like that was more like a sins of the past thing, wasn't it? Coming back.
And Halloween is the safety of suburbia.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so the suburbs are supposed to be, safer than the city, if you like. But then you got a babysitter being stalked by a deranged killer. So all of his films always kind of either make you look back or subvert a narrative that exists.
So this is kind of, you could argue, the last great John Carpenter movie.
Yeah, I was worried what you were going to say then. I was going to say The Pinnacle, because I'm still a really big fan of The Fog.
I
that
love
version,
The Fog.
not the remake.
Yeah, but probably then the last great John Carpenter movie. Had he said all he had to say? Do we know? Or is it just... Because he got back into his music a lot, didn't he? Because there's a few John Carpenter albums, aren't there? And sort of synth pop.
He composed the music for this.
That's what I mean. He did it for most stuff, but I think then he kind of went into it for a while and was just doing stuff for other things. And like I say, he did a music video. He did one for Distant Dream, Escape from New York, Christina. He went back and made the music videos or re-released a lot of his stuff again. I think he did a tour. I think he may have toured with a band as well at some point. I can remember seeing, or maybe he did a couple of shows, maybe John Carpenter live at the Hollywood Bowl or something like that. I have to have a look. But so this may be the last great work from one of cinema's greatest directors, and you should go and watch it.
Yeah.
So yes, that was our spotlight on John Carpenter's They Live. Do go and check it out. It's available on most platforms. Sometimes you've got to rent it. I think Arrow have got it on their app because I think they did a video, or they've had it on their app.
Yeah, it moves about a lot, all of them do. So,
but it'll pop up from time to time. It's one of those films you'll flick through at midnight one night and it'll be on. And just to say now then, thank you for listening this week. Another get well soon to Mr. Hawkins, our third chair, who's not here tonight. For all the latest news and reviews, You can check us out on all the various social medias, from TikTok to Facebook to Twitter to Instagram and all that. Also, you can go to cultfaction.com, which is the mothership of everything we do. It's all linked through there. Please rate and review us on your podcast apps. Recommend us to your friends. Share us. Put a comment about us in your Facebook status, maybe. Thank you, Steve. And yeah, do please rate and review us, because it means a lot to us. So all I need to say now is that it's a goodbye from me.
And it's a goodbye from me.
And remember, they live, we sleep.
Consume, obey.
Superman.
So do need a whiz.
Those films, they live.
Someone shagging an alien. Doobie doobie quack quack.
Bah.